Hi. Welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner. I'm a critic, consultant, and programmer based in Toronto, and this is the other thing I do. My guest this week is Pete Ohs, a writer, director, editor, and cinematographer who specializes in a very specific type of drama. Sometimes it's genre adjacent, like Jathica or The True Beauty of Being Bitten by a Tick, and sometimes it's more straightforward, as in his latest film, Erupcja, which is now playing in select theaters across North America. The movie stars Charli XCX as Bethany, a young English woman who arrives in Warsaw for a vacation with her boyfriend Rob and finds herself spending more and more time with Nell, a friend from her youth. And here's the thing, every time they're together, a volcano erupts somewhere in the world. That must be chemistry, right? It's a tiny, precise drama that's also incredibly involving and builds a whole world in just 71 minutes. You should see it. Pete picked Evil Does Not Exist, Ryusuke Hamaguchi's 2024 drama about a Japanese mountain village threatened with change by developers who want to turn part of its picturesque forest into an attraction for glamping influencers, threatening a delicate ecosystem with an influx of people who won't respect it. Hamaguchi tells this story through two pairs of characters. First, through Hitoshi Omika and Ryo Nishikawa as a father and daughter who live on the mountain, and then with Ryuji Kosaka and Ayaka Shibutani as the ostensible villains, who are more interested in putting up their marketing promotions than the rapacious capitalism that's funding them. It's a delicate, thoughtful look at the way the world works today and how individual lives get tangled up in larger agendas. Is that evil, or is it just life? This is Someone Else's Movie.
This is definitely a movie I wish I had made. A movie that I am inspired by and jealous of for the last few years. Basically, whenever anyone says, "What have you seen that you've liked?" I say, "Evil Does Not Exist." I don't remember exactly how or why I first watched it. I probably had seen Drive My Car, and it was in theaters. Evil Does Not Exist was in theaters. I was in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I was hanging out with my filmmaker friend Albert Burney, and we were like, let's go see a movie. We were like, let's go see Evil Does Not Exist. It has a great still. The image that the first press image that they released of the little girl with this blue hat and this coat and this yellow glove is just, it's like so nothing. It's actually so simple, and yet it also is so evocative. But then it has this title that feels sort of like lost in translation of like Evil Does Not Exist, where it's like what does that mean? It's like but like you watch the trailer and it's like it's not a horror movie, but that title should be a horror movie, like something weird going on. And then you read the log line and it's like about a glamping site. It's like it just sounds so weird and silly, and like you're just like, what is this movie gonna be? And I definitely love that feeling. And I was watching the movie. It was a really empty theater. I feel like we maybe even saw like a matinee or something. And I started to fall asleep during it. Not because I was bored, but just because it was hypnotizing me.
Mm.
And then I don't know how much of it I fell asleep for, maybe like a second, who knows what. But I suddenly felt that I was in a dream. And then I got to that ending and I was like, it just didn't let me go. As I left the theater, I just did not stop thinking about that movie. I was like, what was that? What did I miss? If I did fall asleep, did I miss something? But I felt like I saw something. And then I've watched it probably like 5 times since then. It's almost like a comfort film. I just like to put it on in the background of just whatever I'm doing, just put it on, let it be there, let it support me. So like all these things are like things I like about it before I even like started to learn about how it got made. And then the behind the scenes of this film made it even more exciting to me. The way in which the process informed the eventual product is just so cool.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I watched the Meet the Filmmakers piece on the Criterion channel, and it's almost entirely devoted to not discussing how the film exists and what it means.
Right.
Just how it came to be, like the process and the laborious transition, I suppose, when Hamaguchi realized, oh, I have a movie. His, for people who don't know, who might be listening, this started as a 30-minute proposition from
the composer,
Aiko Ishibashi, the composer, who wanted it to be accompanied by a live score that would eventually be performed for an audience. And this
Right.
was
It was going to be like,
basically,
I need footage for my performance. Like I need
yes,
like projection footage um for
a
when
background piece,
yeah, a
basically.
background piece, exactly.
And while he was working on it, he says he just realized he wanted to hear the characters talk.
Mm,
And it turned into an entire feature, which um, involves casting a non-actor in the lead. This was somebody who'd been a driver on his previous projects, somebody who's
right.
known for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Hitoshi Omika is not a movie star, although he has this incredible face that's exactly right for the role
Incredible
of Takumi.
presence, this incredible centered energy. He's so compelling to be with, to watch cut wood.
Yeah,
It's like it's just so special.
yeah.
Um,
And you're in this beguiling space within 5 minutes, a world that refuses to reveal itself, I think is how I would describe
mm,
it. Like the
mm,
people reveal themselves. His
mm,
entire thing is about waiting to see who a person is. All of his
mm,
movies are I've been sort of immersed in them as they trickle out on disc these days. Like Passion,
mm.
his student film from 2008 has shown up, and
Cool.
it's about a dinner party basically, like young friends in an apartment that
Mm,
just sort of spirals out of, not out of control, but just the relationships are destabilized, and then they spend the entire movie trying to figure out what it all means. And
mm,
it's a naive work. It's shot on video. It's really handheld in that mid 2000s look that we kind of recognize. But it's the same concern as everything
mm,
else he's done. You see this entire future in there, and then a couple of the actors wouldn't work together again until he brought them back together for a piece of Wheel of Fortune,
mm,
and it's all so entangled in its own. It's not even mythology. He's not working with that, but
mm,
he's got this continuum of art, and evil does not exist pays it off in a different way.
mm,
There is someone here who was Ayaka Shibutani, I think, was a nurse in Drive My Car, and here she
mm,
is carrying this entire other thing, but still in a nurse-like role where she's
mm,
secondary to the person she's with, and caring for everyone and not acknowledging how much work it is that she's doing while everything else is happening. And then there's the title, which is either reassuring or despairing, and I don't know.
mm. Mhm. It feels magical. It feels, I don't know, I get so frustrated by by I guess like mainstream cinema that's trying so hard to manipulate
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't just create a wavelength and like help me enter it. Mm. A friend described the movie as Uniqlo core. And like clearly it is so aesthetic and the way the light feels is so correct. And the whole time I'm as a filmmaker who is always trying to like honestly trying to watch things objectively
Mm-hmm.
and analyze like figure out like how do they do it? What do they do? How do they do that? When something's good, I like struggle to do that because it like keeps working, it like keeps like tricking me into just like getting lost in the piece again. Um, and it's just so beautifully simple. It's the same as what that like cover image is. It's like the image feels like it's three colors. It feels like it's a flesh tone, blue and yellow. Like it's like that's all it is. And black, I guess. But we have these scenes that aren't slow cinema to me. It's like peaceful cinema. And we have this PowerPoint presentation from this company at this community meeting gathering that's so fun to watch. I find it so interesting. And I'm like, is this it feels like it's good everything, but I'm like, as I'm analyzing it, I'm like, is this good writing? Is this good performing? The shots are fine. Like they're like all correct shots, but this isn't flashy anything. Like this isn't flashy acting. This is not flashy cinematography. They are just like in a room. Like this is a regular room. The movie was shot on like a black magic camera. It's like this isn't anything fancy. It's just like clean and correct and direct and yet somehow has magic, has an intangible element that I just have to assume comes from like the artists, from this director, from this energy that he must have cultivated with this group of people that he knew from different places, that he had the sense to have them walk through this forest, to get in, to drink this water. It's like they were drinking the Kool-Aid. The Kool-Aid was the natural spring water, and like you feel that in like the whole movie. Before we even get to like the fun movie stuff that is like the haunting ending and like the way in which these like simple, which is what he's so good at, but like the simple twists and turns of a simple story that actually are very dramatic and are very significant and are very like impactful. It's just so good. And it makes me wish I was Japanese.
Just for so you get the nuances better, or just
I
so you
don't
can
know.
inhabit that
It's just
space?
like just because I want to live in that world, like the world that he created, the feeling of it. And I've definitely always been to Japan. I finally went there for the first time in December of last year, and like
Really?
was just fully confirmed that like yes, this is where I was meant to be.
I've
Um,
never been. Friends have gone and have said that it's culturally recognizable, but also completely alien. And I try to avoid tourist conversations, right? Like it
mm,
is such a different world, but of course it would be.
mhm.
And I'm excited to experience it at some point as someone who has basically worn nothing but Uniqlo since 2005.
Right.
Um,
The sooner
but
you go, the better.
yeah, at some point, maybe there's a film festival I can visit.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get back to the thing you said about briefly falling asleep or at least drifting
Mm.
away,
Mm-hmm.
because that's famously a Pitchapong where's the says that all the time. It's like I don't care if you drift off in my
Mm-hmm.
movies; it's fine by
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an episode coming up in a couple of weeks on tropical malady
Mm.
with Brett and Hannum, who said effectively the same thing. It's like this is a dream state, and it welcomes you into it. And I've always wondered if those films benefit from film festival settings where people are, working at 80%
Right.
anyway, and more likely to cloud over.
Mm.
But the sense while you're watching it that you have entered another world entirely, one that in this case is completely recognizable and
Mm.
even mundane,
Mm.
the sense that you have been shifted into another world from
Mm.
wherever you are, wherever you've been doing. I mean, that's what I love about cinema as an art. It's the only one that basically paralyzes you.
Mm-hmm.
And then that you can drift in and still appreciate that this world has things going on in it that don't make sense. There's violence everywhere, or at least the potential for violence. There's an
Mm-hmm.
axe, there's a gun, the gun is fired, the axe is wielded, all of those things are there,
Uh-huh.
but they don't behave the way we expect them to. And I think his fun in subverting the narrative and really giving you nothing to hang on to
Mm.
right off the top with the title, and then just saying, look, these are people you probably wouldn't like if you met them,
Mm.
but they're just doing a job and the job is stupid and they're trying to keep their dignity. And this man just wants to be left alone with his kid. And that's fine. But the nature of narrative means they're going to collide. And again, that title prepares us for
Mm.
battle, right?
Mm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
some kind of malevolence or malignance.
Right. It has a like there will be blood type of title where it's like
Yeah,
it is evocative, it is informing.
it's making a promise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Someone
Yeah,
said recently that the best horror movies, I think it was in 1000 Women in Horror or Chain Reactions, one of those docs, somebody commented that the best horror titles are the ones that give you the movie in your head and then
mm.
proceed to subvert it completely. This is what I
Mm.
think it's going to be. There's a Texas and there's a Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
But this one it's an evocative title, it's an ambivalent title, and ambiguous at the same time. And then it is up to us to figure out who's evil or who we think is. And then none of it matters because it's just people. And I love that so much because that is kind of my moral baseline. I
Mm.
don't think there is such a thing as evil. I think there's malice and cruelty and all the stuff that
Mm-hmm.
humans do. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe there's a force that guides us or creates us. I think people choose it, which is far worse.
Yeah. I think there's fear, and fear can have a strong influence on what we do. And if we let it control us, like that's where bad behavior comes from, and that bad behavior gets described as evil.
Sure.
But it's really just a product of this fear that is the same as the deer, protecting its after getting shot. It's like it's afraid, it's gonna behave. This doesn't mean it's evil. It's just an instinctual reaction to this like release of chemicals basically in our bodies.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
once upon a time, people saw that sort of behavior and decided it was the devil. It doesn't
right,
make it so.
right. The other word that I found myself that was arriving to me as we're talking about this movie was invisible.
Mhm.
Because first I was thinking about this, there's this shot, this dolly tracking shot in like the playground, the parking lot of the school, and we're tracking across, and you see these kids and they're not moving. So the people are not moving, the kids are not moving, but the camera is moving. And and in that moment, it's really shocking. You're just like,
Mhm.
what's going on? It's like so evocative. Um, and it feels, it feels for a moment like the worst person in the world moment, where it's like, oh, we're freezing time. We're like, oh, we're doing that fun freezing time thing. Like, oh,
Right.
cool. The movie's like doing a movie thing. And then as it tracks over, you find out, oh, they're just kids playing a game. They're kids playing like red light, green light. And and there's something so cool and smart about that, because it's like invisible style, where it's not Scorsese, it's not this thing where like it's very clear that we're doing a big move and this is like we are doing movie stuff. It's like embedded within the reality of it. Like he found the magic, he found the way to like make that feel like a movie moment, but actually it's just kids doing normal things in the normal world. Um, and like and like the movie is full of that thing where like the style is invisible. It is so stylish, but it's so tricky because it's so like smartly done that it's that like it becomes its own magic to me, because you like it's a sleight of hand where you're like, how is this happening? It's like it feels like they're doing something but they're not. So what are they doing? And then when you start to think about that word invisible, and you start to sort of do which is what we're doing, but like the kind of film school analysis thing you can do, where you like project meaning onto something and you have fun trying to unpack like how a thing, like what a thing is and why the thing is that. And you think about like the invisible nature of nature, of just
Mhm.
like the way in which he's filming the branches of the trees, that like this feels ghostly, the way the camera's like moving through this forest, the way that like there feels like there's spirits of the forest. In like so much in this movie feels like Miyazaki, feels like it's Mononoke or something. But like there's no magic in it. There's nothing like supernatural in this movie at all, but it feels like it's full of it. It feels like at any moment a forest spirit is going to come out, or like the deer that we see are the forest spirit, but it's like no, it's just a deer.
Hey, it's Norm, interrupting my own show to bring you up to speed on Shiny Things, my newsletter about physical media, culture, and the odd streaming project. Last week, I wrote about Mubi's Die My Love, Paramount's Primate, and Universal's Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, and of course, there was Friday's What's Worth Watching dispatch for paid subscribers. Sign up for a 14-day free trial at shiny-things.ghost.io, or find the link at the Semcast Blue Sky account. If you like reading about movies, I like writing about them. Come check it out. The Miyazaki thing is an excellent point. I mean, there's even a character called Mayuzumi just to have that kind of resonance, I
Right.
think. I
Uh-huh.
think that's deliberate. I think he's playing
Mm,
with the idea that um that it is about like the film story is about individual responsibility. The glamping space will pollute the water, but
mhm,
nobody believes it, so it's up to the individuals to prove that it will.
mm.
And the sense that we don't need forest spirits, like we're perfectly capable of ruining things ourselves
Right,
or defending them.
right.
But the mystery of it and the sense too that there is something uncanny at work, which I don't think there is. I think you're right. Like he's shooting it to make it eerie and unstable, but the point of it is it's right there in the title, right? Evil does not exist, so good doesn't either unless we make it so, and people have to fight for it. Did you see Christian Mungiu's RMN by any chance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that didn't get as much of a release as it should have. This was a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very similarly about a community trying to figure something out, but having no guidance. And it's much more decisive about what's really going on, but it takes the entire film to get there. It's like a 2.5 hour movie with the final shot that actually reveals what's really going on. And it's glorious because, like Lars von Trier's Breaking the Waves, you get your answer, but then you're left alone. The credits roll and you have to go back out into the world and argue about what it really means. And the thing about Hamaguchi is he doesn't care about offering us that resolution. Drive My Car didn't do it. Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy didn't do it. I mean, it's kind of an anthology piece, so there are individual endings, but you are left when the lights come up with yourself and whoever you came with to kind of fumble your way back to the world.
And you get this fun question of like, what did I just watch? Where did I just go?
Yeah, which is lovely, and it plays into the cliche of inscrutable Asian cinema in a way that I think people are uncomfortable with. At least in a couple of times I've seen his films with the audiences, people start immediately talking about Ozu and anything else they can grapple with to stitch it all together. But that's not what he's doing. It's inscrutible only insofar as he refuses to answer things. It doesn't mean the answers aren't in there.
Right. I feel like they very much are in there. I just need to watch it again.
Yeah, the more times we watch it, the closer we'll come to the epiphanies.
There's also this thing I find so refreshing, and it doesn't need to be, I don't think it's like specific to Japanese cinema. I think it's specific to him as a filmmaker. But it might be sort of specific to things that are like not capitalism oriented, like not product oriented, that the scene of the community like receiving this presentation from the glamping company. I just feel like in the like Netflix American version, like we are shouting, somebody needs to throw something at some point, like somebody needs to break down in tears. And that like bothers me that's the thing that gets put out into the world because like it doesn't help. Like seeing a group of people like respectfully communicate is like actually also good for the world to see. And what I also just love about it is like for me anyways, it's just as if not more compelling for these people to just make clear good arguments, to be thoughtful people who we get to just sit there and be there with them as they're communicating and talking with each other. It's not that anyone needs to start yelling. I guess if they yelled there, I'm sure that he could figure out a way for it to get there, like in a natural and in like a way that feels correct and feels earned, but it just doesn't feel forced at all. It just like lets things unfold. And I'm so drawn to that. It's why I'm happy to watch the movie again. It's why when I watch mainstream Netflix things, I start to get that taste, that texture, and I'm just like, I just start to check out. And I'm like, this is not nutritious. This is not like a food I want to be ingesting.
It's funny, the RMN also, the other reason I think about it in comparison, it has a 25-minute town hall scene in a single take.
Whoa.
And there is shouting. There is a lot of shouting.
Yeah.
And justifiably so.
But it probably isn't like artifice. Like the artifice is what I'm talking about from like these Netflix shouting situations.
Yeah. No, where I think that weird Netflix doctrine that you need to articulate your theme every 3 scenes or the viewer will drift away or they're doing something else always comes out in those scenes, in big, complicated dialogue scenes about the thing as opposed to people talking around it. And then you have to be more emotional or people will not listen to you. I still love the fact that Alfonso Cuarón could get them to finance Roma, which is long takes on a huge canvas that are designed to be seen in a theater and move slowly in the dark. But with the Netflix brand comes a certain level of lowered expectation, I think, these days, which is really sad. And with someone like Hamaguchi, who is using time and space aggressively, hypnotically, right, to trap you, with the expectation that, yeah, you'll probably see this at home because that's how everybody sees a movie that doesn't have explosions in it. But the reward of sitting with it, even, I mean, I watched it again downstairs and it was still just as good because I turned my phone off and I watched the movie. And if you commit, he is there for you. Like, he will give back the attention that you give him, and give you this canvas that you can just sort of walk through.
You know, I find myself in whether it's doing press or just in conversations with people and filmmakers and fellow filmmakers about, you know, about like it's our slow cinema, like just the concept of like a slower movie. Also, how much like with the idea that something could become indulgent, how much is the artist considerate of the audience? And frequently when I'm watching something that's quite like loud, I'm like, there's actually nothing going on. You just keep punching me, you know? And like, and thus I'm confused, and I think something must be going on because I keep just having another music cue hit or another like explosion or another shouting match or whatever, but you're like, oh, there isn't actually anything happening. And then when I see a movie like Evil Does Not Exist, it's so quiet. It is so slow, kind of, in these ways where we're just riding in a car for a long time when we're watching somebody cut wood or walking through a forest. And I both feel like this filmmaker cares about me a lot. I don't feel abandoned within this slowness. I feel held. And then as I feel safe within that, I feel like I'm noticing so much, and I feel like so much is happening. Yeah, it's not plot. Like this is a different kind of storytelling, but actually there is a lot going at all times. There are a lot of ideas happening. There are a lot of things to pay attention to get in sync with, a lot of things to be engaged by. And such that like I don't even need to talk about like slow cinema, but just like it's just this idea that this has a lot going on. And if I feel like somebody who it just isn't as accustomed to it, isn't open to it maybe, or is confused by like feeling good, you know, like they like want to feel bad all the time, like that's what's familiar to them. They could dismiss the film and just be like, oh, it's like a film where nothing happens. But to me, it's like so much more happens in this kind of movie, than than in John Wick 4 or whatever, you know, like just because they like fought again, it's like that's not actually anything. It's just like that's just more nothing.
Yeah, I mean, the John Wick example is interesting because it's one of those things where I'm surprised that I enjoy them as much as I do, because I generally reject premises where the hero cannot grow or change. And,
Yeah,
John Wick's not going to lose a fight an hour into a 3-hour movie.
sure. I mean, it's
There's
James
more.
Bond. It's like the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, or something like Mad Men or The Sopranos. I'm the one person who doesn't like most prestige television because, oh, you've told me what's going to happen in every episode for the next 6 years.
The joy of Mad Men is the pitches, though. It's just like the fun of the creative, advertising world twists and turns and how they're going to sell ketchup.
I suppose. I mean, yeah, that's more engaging than every subsequent season of The Handmaid's Tale, where it's like, well, we have to keep her here, but guess somebody else can get hurt. So let's do that. Just the cruelty. And maybe that's it. I reject the need to torture someone once we've already established who they are and what they want, for not getting it. And again, that's something would be violently rejected in a Hamaguchi film. Like, you don't need to suffer if you know who you are. I think all of his films are kind of about that, and the travel that it takes to get back to who you could be or who you should be. But it's weird that we got here from John Wick. But the premise, like the promise of a John Wick movie, is the adrenaline, right? Like, you will watch the ballet of action over and over again, and that can be pleasurable in itself. But yeah, I mean, the third one, just like once they decided there was going to be a fourth one, there's no way to take it.
Right.
Although I do like the fourth one. But then the experience here of being welcomed into a quiet, yeah, I don't know if I would call it slow cinema either. It's deliberate.
Yeah.
But that's just, you know, a movie. Like it's a
Right.
tourist experience where someone has this in mind for you.
Mm.
This is the experience he wants you to have. And if you allow that experience to happen,
Mm.
the pleasures are endless.
Do you have a favorite scene?
Oh,
Mhm.
ooh, I think it's going to be the chopping wood. I
Yeah,
think
that's what I
because
was
it's
gonna say.
so simple and so funny to watch that
But
scene
like,
play.
right, right. With the other guy, when the other guy gets his chance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Just
yeah.
the failure of, it's not even the failure of masculinity, but the attempt to present
Hmm.
competence that Takahashi brings to chopping wood,
Hmm.
and just not being able to do it. And according to Hamaguchi, it just happened on the day. Like they didn't know that was the take they were going to use. It
Right,
just ended up
right.
being the one he loved.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there's that sense that I think it reads like, knowing that makes it better, because I
Yeah,
think you can tell the other actors are surprised, like genuinely surprised that the wood doesn't split.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
you feel that energy. Like
Uh-huh.
anytime
It's
something
magic.
happens, yeah, that's the stuff we kill for,
You're like, oh,
right? Like,
it's real.
yeah,
Yeah,
where the audience doesn't know what to do because the actors aren't confident. Those
yeah.
little moments, like when an actor is about to break in a comedy, but they cut away just in time.
Mm.
There's an electricity to that moment that captures, that comes across, and it's the miracle of the spontaneity of
Mm-hmm.
something unplanned happening in something that has to be rigorously planned to appear to be spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
Hamaguchi even talks about that in the Meet the Filmmaker segment, just
Mm-hmm.
this little speech about how cinema is an attempt to capture fake reality, not to fake it, but to capture the faking of it.
Mm-hmm.
That when something real breaks through, everyone knows what that looks like. Like we've all been surprised. We've all seen someone else be surprised or momentarily uncomfortable. And I think our brains are wired to catch that even on, a flat screen,
Mm-hmm.
two-dimensional 24 frame experience.
Mm-hmm.
And most directors don't keep that stuff, or they would choose to go with the thing that gives them the story they want to tell. And being
Right.
open to that in a project like this just completely changes the experience of watching it, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of like the filmmaking mechanisms that seemingly require lots of planning, like
Mm-hmm.
seemingly require like things needing to be a certain way, because it's all perceived as some like chain or some domino effect of just like if this doesn't work, then everything else is going to fall apart. Um, and and so to have set up a framework such that he's able to press record and watch something and be okay with whatever happens, and hasn't already like controlled it so much. If it was so important for the wood to break, they would have pre-chopped it. Like it
Yep.
would like they like if that's what was important to them, and then when it did not break or whatever, like whatever like it did, it would have felt different to us, the audience, because we would have just seen like what they manufactured, as if that was so important to the story. And like, because the reality is like, it probably would have been fine if it had broken on the first chop, you know?
Yeah.
And like, and,
Yeah.
and that could have also been okay too, but because, and this is a thing that I find happens, it must happen for everyone, but like you have these moments where the movie gods are on your side when you're making a movie. But it doesn't always happen on camera. Like sometimes it'll just like you'll show up and like you'll get a good parking spot. You're like, okay, great. Like we didn't have time. We got here on time and we got the parking spot we needed. Thank you, movie gods. But for it to happen like while you're rolling, and your actors are also locked in, and so they perfectly like receive that gift, and then it all gets to actually make it into the final cut. Those are such magical things to for us to get to witness. For people who don't even know how filmmaking works, like they still feel the magic of it. For those of us who like are thinking about that kind of thing all the time, it's like, oh, they're so lucky, you know. And just
Yeah.
I love those moments in the world that like that has been documented, um, in this like magical, mystical story, like in the center of it, that there's this completely real, funny moment.
Yeah. I mean, your films tend to feel more improvisational sometimes because they are, but
Mm.
there's a looseness through a lot of them. But then I'm thinking about something like Jethica, where the blocking has to be exact for certain
Mm.
things to happen, and they still feel organic. So you're creating heavily locked down images
Mm.
that have life inside of them. And then in Eruptia, there's that look across two balconies, which,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this isn't a spoiler. It's something that happens in the first third of the picture, but it's just so charming and alive. And then there's a callback to it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is this moment of understanding of what it is that we want, or at least these characters want from each other, that we don't always get.
Mm.
And there are ways to get it that are chemical. There are ways to get it that are emotional. There are ways
Mm.
to get it that are physical. And sometimes you just find it and don't know what it is, but you keep returning to it because that's the thing you chase the most.
Mm.
And I don't think we see that in movies a lot. I think
Mm.
we are prevented from the idea of like synchronicity or serendipity or whatever it is that
Mm.
the characters talk about in the film, like where every time we meet, there's a volcano that
Mm.
erupts, and then someone else has to point out there's a lot of volcano eruptions in the world. Don't ascribe this to something
Mm.
magical, but
Mm-hmm.
that's how we work. That's how humans work. I mean, that's what Evil Does Not Exist is about, right? Like if you're chasing the sense that there is something, you'll
Mm.
find it,
Right.
whether it's there or not.
Right. There was, um, the way I've been making these movies, the way I made Erupcja, it starts with an idea, it starts with an outline, but we're very much writing as we go. The acting's not improv, but the spirit is, where we
Mhm.
are saying yes and to this story and discovering it, making the movie in order. And as the movie was unfolding, every night, every morning, we're having a conversation about the scenes we just shot, the scenes we're about to shoot. And one of the collaborators was starting to say, I feel like there are too many coincidences. And this is before we really even knew fully what the movie was gonna be about. But I'm following my intuition. I'm no, I think this is where we should keep going. This is the thing we're exploring. But their note was it's too much. It's too written. It's too convenient that there are all these coincidences. At the same time, we the humans making this movie, Edna erupted during the shoot. We had the exact experience the characters had, where we looked at our phones and we're like, "Holy shit, a volcano just exploded." We took it as significant. We're like, "Oh, we are on the right path. We are meant to be. We are the chosen ones. Let's put that into the movie." And we actively kept riding that wave. And then it wasn't until later that I actually Googled volcanoes and how many are there and how often do they erupt, and that's why that point comes into the movie later, because I was like, hold on, before this movie ends, before we leave this shoot, I should actually look this up and see if this whole narrative that we've been building is legit at all. But there is this thing about if you are writing, if you are controlling the story, that if you make coincidences happen, it's bad writing. But if you're just living your life a certain way where you are open to things and you see things and you receive signs and you interpret them the way you want to, life is full of coincidences. Life is bad writing, you know? But and that's a magical thing. It's it can have a problem where you start to feel like you're the center of the universe and you're the main character, and then you start to behave in not good ways. But on the positive side of it to me is just that it makes it feel like there's magic in the world. It makes us feel the way we feel as we watch Evil Does Not Exist, that we are walking through a forest and it honestly is just a forest, but honestly there are spirits here as well. You can't see them, but you will feel them. Um,
Yeah, we want that. I think we all want that feeling that everything is connected, everything happens for a reason, because it makes us feel less alone.
mm-hmm. That's the truth.
I usually wrap the podcast by asking what, if anything, the guest has taken from the film they chose. So, is there something from Evil or from Hamaguchi in general that that you've tried to borrow or steal or quote or just adapt for your own stuff? I'm actually kind of curious how you'd receive Passion, the first
Mm-hmm.
film, that student film, because it feels very much like something in the vein of what you've been doing.
Mm-hmm. Um, One of the big takeaways is I could almost cry because it connects to the thing you literally just said, which is feeling less alone in the world and feeling, like the feeling I get just from watching the movie and then learning about how it was made, about how much the process is connected to the product, of how they found it together, of how it was all these things that somebody, I don't know who is saying this, but it feels like somebody somewhere is saying you're not supposed to do that. Somebody somewhere is saying you're not supposed to start a movie from the music, like that you're not supposed to cast your driver, that you're not, like that you're not supposed to like just do all these things. And but like the proof is that you are clearly. Look at this film that he created. That he found he clearly found so intuitively. Um and and that's how I like to make things. That's what feels good to me. And it feels so encouraging to see somebody else out there in the world doing it so well and doing it with that same spirit that it gives me strength and inspiration to continue going forward, to not feel as alone, and to go and do it again.
Oh, that's great. As opposed to being discouraged by, oh, he does it so well, there's no chance that I'll ever get there.
Um, no, when somebody's good at something and I feel like they're doing it for good reasons, like with like a good spirit and not hurting other people, I find that very inspirational. It's like just seeing that somebody reached the top of the mountain. It means it's possible. And when I see a movie that's so big and so loud and so complicated and also so designed by like the need for a product that can be sold, it that to me is what is discouraging. That to me is like makes me feel like, well, why am I going to do anything? I don't find those big movies to be like inspiring to me as a human or as a creator. And it's movies like this that are still masterful, that I feel much more encouraged by, to go out, connect with other humans, try to find a story that resonates, and then release it to the world to see if it resonates with anybody else.
My thanks to Pete Ohs, whose new drama, Erupcja, is now playing in select theaters across North America. In Toronto, you can find it at the TIFF Lightbox. Thanks also to Kate McEdwards. She knows what she did. You can find Pete on Instagram at Pete Ohs, all one word, and you can find Evil Does Not Exist on Blu-ray and DVD under the Criterion Presents imprint. It's also streaming on the Criterion Channel in the US and Canada, and on Canopy in the US as well, and available to rent or buy on various VOD services across North America. You can find me on Blue Sky at Norm Wilner, and you can find this podcast there at Semcast, S-E-M-Cast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. The first year of the show is still available for just $20 at payhip.com/semcast. That's the first 52 episodes of Someone Else's Movie, 40 of which aren't currently available anywhere else. And check out my newsletter, Shiny Things, at shiny-things.ghost.io. I think you'll enjoy it. Our theme song is by The Last Year. If you like it or the show in general, please say so. Leave a review wherever you've been listening. Every little bit helps, it truly does. And check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network while you're doing that. Stay safe, watch movies, get all the boosters. I'll see you next week.